The carriage stopped so suddenly that Arya almost fell forward. Outside, the forest stretched endlessly, silent, cold, and filled with a thick fog that seemed to breathe. A single iron gate stood before them, tall as a tower, wrapped in black vines that shimmered faintly in the moonlight. Her father refused to look at her. His hands trembled on the reins. "It's better this way," he muttered, the same words he had repeated all through the journey. "You'll be safe here. The Alpha keeps his bargains." Arya's heart pounded painfully. Safe. Her voice came out smaller than she meant. "You're selling me." He flinched but didn't deny it. "You don't understand what debt means to a man like me, Arya. He would have taken everything. Our home, your sister, even the land. You're—" his voice broke. "You're the only thing I have left that he wants." The gate groaned open as if it had been waiting. Somewhere deep within the mist, a wolf howled. The sound carried through the night, low and commanding, like thunder that knew her name. Arya clutched her mother's pendant, the silver one she had worn since childhood. "What does he even want with me?" she asked. Her father didn't answer. He simply gestured toward the two figures emerging from the mist. A tall woman with silver hair pulled into a tight braid, and beside her, a man wearing a dark uniform marked with the crest of the Blood Moon Pack, a wolf beneath a blood-red moon. "Miss Arya Vale?" the woman asked, voice clipped and cold. "You're expected. I am Vera, steward of the Alpha's household." Expected. The word made Arya's stomach twist. She turned to her father one last time. "You're leaving me here?" His eyes were already wet. "It's only for a year," he whispered, though his tone made it sound like a prayer he didn't believe. "After that, you'll be free. The debt will be gone." Before she could reply, Vera's companion stepped forward and took her small trunk from the carriage. "This way," he said, not unkindly, but without room for refusal. Arya took one last look at her father. He raised a trembling hand in farewell, then turned the horse sharply and disappeared back into the fog. The iron gates closed behind him with a sound like final judgment. They walked for what felt like forever along a stone path winding through the mist. The forest on either side of the road was ancient and wrong somehow, too still, too watchful. When the trees finally broke, a massive fortress came into view, its dark towers scraping at the heavy clouds above. Firelight flickered in a few high windows, the only sign of life. "That's the Alpha's home?" Arya whispered. Vera didn't answer. She only gave a curt nod and led the way up the broad marble steps. The huge wooden doors opened before they reached them, as if unseen hands had pulled them wide. Warm air spilled out, smelling faintly of smoke, pine, and something sharper, something alive. Inside, the mansion glowed with dim golden light. Portraits of stern men and women lined the stone walls. Their eyes seemed to follow her as she passed. Arya couldn't shake the feeling that she was being silently judged. Vera stopped at the center of the grand hall. "Wait here." She disappeared through another doorway, leaving Arya alone. The silence pressed against her until she thought she might scream just to hear her own voice. Then, a sound, soft footsteps, heavy but graceful. The air itself seemed to grow colder. A man stepped from the shadows at the top of the staircase. He was tall, taller than any man she had ever seen, and the black of his coat made his pale eyes shine like silver coins in moonlight. His dark hair swept back from a strong face marked by a single scar running from his brow to his cheekbone. Even standing still, he looked dangerous. So this was him. The Alpha of the Blood Moon Pack. Cale Thorn. When he spoke, his voice carried the quiet weight of command. "You're the one they sent." Arya nodded, her throat dry. "My father said I was to serve for 1 year. In payment." Cale's gaze swept over her like a blade. "I don't recall asking what your father said." She flushed, looking away. "Then why?" "Because I allowed it." He came closer, each step soundless on the polished floor. "Because I was curious what kind of man would sell his daughter. And what kind of daughter would agree." "I didn't agree," she whispered. Cale stopped so near she could feel the heat radiating from his body. "No," he said softly. "You didn't." His eyes lingered on the pendant at her throat. "Where did you get that?" "My mother's," she said, clutching it protectively. "She died years ago." Something flickered in his expression, recognition, maybe, or memory, but it vanished as quickly as it came. "You'll stay in the East Wing," he said. "Vera will see that you're fed and given new clothing. Your old things will be burned." "Burned?" she repeated, horrified. "But they're all They're reminders of a life that no longer exists," Cale interrupted. "You belong to this house now. And in my house, there are rules." She met his eyes then, trembling but defiant. "I don't belong to anyone." For a heartbeat, silence. Then Cale smiled, a sharp, dangerous thing. "We'll see." He turned and vanished up the staircase, leaving her in the echo of his power, heart hammering and hands cold. Vera returned a few minutes later, her face unreadable. "You've met him," she said. "Come." Arya followed her through a maze of hallways. Everywhere she looked, there were signs of wealth and power. Silver mirrors, thick rugs, and massive windows overlooking the black forest beyond. But beneath the beauty was something colder, as if the house itself were waiting for its master's command. Vera stopped at a heavy oak door. "These are your quarters," she said, pushing it open. The room inside was far grander than anything Arya had known. A four-poster bed draped in dark velvet, a fire already crackling in the hearth, and tall windows covered by heavy curtains. It was beautiful, but not comforting. "I've arranged for clothing and meals," Vera said, moving briskly. "You are to stay inside unless summoned. Do not wander the halls at night." Arya frowned. "Why? What's in the halls?" Vera's eyes, sharp and gray, fixed on her. "The pack." "I thought—" Arya hesitated. "I thought they were human sometimes." "They are," Vera said evenly. "But not always." Arya swallowed. "And you?" "I'm human. By choice." Vera gathered the papers from a nearby desk. "I've served this house for 30 years. Long enough to know what happens when humans forget their place." Something in her tone made Arya's skin prickle. "You mean they—" "Sleep," Vera said, cutting her off. "It's late, and tomorrow you will meet the Alpha again." That night, sleep refused to come. The silence of the mansion was deceptive. Beneath it, she could hear faint sounds, the distant echo of footsteps, the rustle of leaves outside, and once, unmistakably, the long, mournful howl of a wolf. She rose from bed and went to the window. The fog had lifted, revealing the sprawling courtyard below. And there, in the moonlight, something moved, large, dark, and graceful. A wolf, black as the night itself, pacing the edge of the trees. Her breath caught. Even from a distance, she knew. The way he moved, the sheer command in his presence. It was Cale. He lifted his head, and his silver eyes caught the moonlight. For a heartbeat, they locked on hers. Arya froze, unable to look away. The air between them seemed to hum, the pendant at her throat growing warm. Cale stepped closer, close enough that his voice became a whisper. "I can smell lies, Arya Vale. But you can feel them." She met his eyes. "And what is it you're feeling now, Alpha?" For a moment, something raw and human flickered in his expression, something that looked dangerously like longing. Then it vanished, and his tone returned to steel. "Confusion," he said. "And that is not a feeling I tolerate well." He turned away before she could reply. "Vera will show you the library. If you're to stay here, you might as well learn about the world you've entered." Arya hesitated. "And if I don't?" Cale looked back over his shoulder. "Then this house will devour you whole." As Vera led her away, Arya glanced once more at the Alpha. He stood by the fire, silent, his eyes lost in thought. For a heartbeat, she felt the echo of his emotion, loneliness again, but deeper this time, tangled with guilt. She didn't understand how she knew. She only knew it was real. And as the great doors closed behind her, one thought pulsed in her chest like a heartbeat she could not ignore. Whatever curse haunted the Alpha King, she was already part of it. The library was larger than any room Arya had ever seen. The ceiling disappeared into shadow, and the air smelled of old parchment and pine resin. Hundreds, no thousands, of books filled the walls, all neatly arranged. Sunlight spilled through tall windows, catching dust motes that danced like tiny stars. Vera stood beside her, hands clasped behind her back. "These books belong to the Alpha's mother," she said softly. She believed knowledge was as vital to survival as strength. Arya trailed her fingers along the shelves. "And what does her son believe?" "That survival is strength," Vera replied. Arya turned to her. "He doesn't seem like a man who reads for pleasure." Vera allowed herself a faint smile. "You'd be surprised what the Alpha keeps hidden." Before Arya could ask more, the door opened. Kale entered. His presence filled the room like a sudden change in weather, charged, unpredictable. Today he wasn't dressed in the elegant black of the night before, but in a dark shirt rolled to the elbows, showing strong forearms marked with faint scars. His silver eyes fixed on her immediately, unreadable. "Leave us," he said to Vera. The woman bowed and left without a word. The heavy door closed behind her. Silence thickened. Kale walked slowly toward her, stopping only when the space between them felt too small to breathe in. "You asked yesterday what I wanted from you," he said. "I think I'm starting to understand." Arya's heart pounded. "And what is that?" "You," he said simply. She stiffened. "I'm not yours to claim." His tone was calm but dangerous. "Everything in my territory belongs to me, Arya Vale. Land, silver, life." Her chin lifted, defiant. "You may rule your wolves, Alpha, but I am not one of them." For a moment, he said nothing. Then his gaze softened, barely. "No," he admitted. "You're something else." He reached out and touched the pendant at her throat. The silver grew warm beneath his fingers, and a faint light pulsed within the metal. Arya gasped. The air between them seemed to vibrate. "What are you doing?" she whispered. "Testing a theory," he murmured, eyes locked on hers. "This pendant, it reacts to power, to truth, and to me." She stepped back, heart racing. "Then it must be broken." But Kale's faint smile said he knew she was lying. "You feel it too," he said. "Don't deny it." She opened her mouth to protest, but the words died. Because she did feel it, a pull deep in her chest, something alive and ancient whispering that this man was both danger and destiny. "I don't know what it is," she admitted. Kale studied her for a long moment, then turned away and poured himself a drink from a decanter near the window. "You have a gift, Arya. Empathy. Perception. Call it what you like. Your father mentioned it before our arrangement." Her stomach dropped. "He told you." Kale's voice was quiet. "He offered it as part of the bargain." Anger flared, sharp and painful. "So that's why you bought me." He faced her again. "I didn't buy you. I took what was owed. Your father gambled with my trust and lost. But when I heard what you could do—" He paused, setting the glass aside. "I saw something rare. Something I might need." Arya crossed her arms. "So what am I? A tool?" Kale's expression shifted, an unreadable mix of regret and resolve. "You're an answer, whether you like it or not." He began pacing slowly, his energy restless. "There's a traitor in my pack. Someone who feeds information to the southern clans. I've lost good wolves because of it. If your gift is real, you'll help me find who it is." "And if it isn't?" she asked. His eyes met hers, sharp as ice. "Then I'll know my mistake." Arya bit her lip, torn between fear and the strange urge to understand him. "And what if I refuse?" "Then your father's life ends," Kale said quietly. "The deal was for your service. Refuse, and his protection is gone." Her breath caught. "You'd kill him." He didn't look away. "If I have to." The calm in his voice terrified her more than anger would have. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then, finally, "You don't have to threaten me, Cale Thorne. I'll help you." Something flickered in his eyes. Approval, maybe, or surprise. "Good," he said softly. "Then our bond begins." Arya frowned. "Our what?" But Cale only smiled faintly and said, "You'll see soon enough." Later that evening, Vera came to prepare her for the council meeting. Arya's hands shook as she fastened the simple gown Vera had brought, a deep blue dress that reminded her of twilight. The older woman's movements were efficient but not unkind. "What is it like?" Arya asked quietly. "A council of wolves?" Vera hesitated. "They're not beasts, child. They're men and women bound by instinct older than your kind remembers. But be careful. They can smell weakness." Arya tried to laugh. "Then I'll pretend I don't have any." Vera gave her a look that was almost fond. "Pretend well." The council chamber was carved from black stone, its walls etched with runes that glowed faintly red in the candlelight. 12 chairs formed a semicircle around a long table. Every seat was filled by a member of Cale's inner circle, each with the same air of power and restrained danger. Cale stood at the head of the table. When Arya entered, the conversations died. Dozens of golden or amber eyes turned toward her, assessing, suspicious. "She's human," one of them muttered. Cale's voice cut through the air. "She's mine." Arya froze. The word struck like a physical touch, shocking, confusing, and undeniably powerful. The council fell silent. Cale gestured toward the empty chair beside him. "Sit." She did, feeling every gaze on her as she took her place at his right hand. "This is Arya Vale," Cale said. "She'll observe the council today." A woman with copper hair frowned. "A human, Alpha? In our council?" Cale's silver eyes hardened. "You question my decision?" The woman dropped her gaze immediately. "No, Alpha." Arya's pulse raced. The power he commanded with so few words was frightening, and yet part of her admired it. The meeting began. Reports of border patrols, hunting quotas, southern activity. Arya tried to focus on the words, but her attention kept drifting to the emotions humming beneath them, waves of anxiety, anger, distrust. Then it happened. One man spoke, a counselor named Vincent, with salt-and-pepper hair and a calm, practiced voice. "No unusual movements on the southern border," he said smoothly. "We're secure." But Arya felt it. A jolt of coldness that didn't match his tone. "Lies." The certainty struck her so hard she nearly gasped. Cale noticed. His gaze flicked toward her, sharp. She didn't speak, just met his eyes and gave a single, small nod. Something passed between them. Understanding. Cale turned back to the council. "Then we'll continue as planned," he said evenly, though his jaw tightened. Meeting adjourned. As the others rose to leave, Arya leaned closer. "The man, Vincent," she whispered. "He lied." "I know," Cale murmured. "I could smell it. But I wanted to see if you could." Her heart skipped. "So I was right?" "Yes." His voice lowered. "And that makes you valuable, Arya Vale." She hesitated. Valuable or trapped? Cale's faint smile didn't reach his eyes. "For now, both." That night, the castle buzzed with quiet tension. Arya could feel it in the walls, in the servants' hurried footsteps, even in the chill air that crept beneath her door. She couldn't sleep. Cale's words echoed in her head. "For now, both." Finally, she wrapped a shawl around her shoulders and slipped into the corridor. The mansion was dim, lit only by torches flickering in iron sconces. The silence pressed close, broken only by the occasional whisper of wind through stone. She didn't know where she was going, only that she needed to breathe. Her bare feet carried her down a long hallway lined with portraits. Most were of men who resembled Cale, stern, proud, eyes sharp as blades. The Thorne bloodline. She stopped before one portrait in particular, a woman with the same silver eyes, though softer, sadder. Cale's mother, she realized. She died young. The voice came from behind her. She spun, startled, to find Cale leaning against the wall, half in shadow. He wore no coat, only a loose black shirt and the tired expression of someone who had been awake too long. "I didn't mean to wander," she said quickly. He shrugged. "The walls whisper. They said you were restless." She frowned. "You listen to walls a lot?" "Only when they tell me something worth hearing." He moved closer, steps slow, deliberate. "Why couldn't you sleep?" "Because this place feels alive," she admitted. "As if it's watching me." "It is." He stopped beside her, gazing at the portrait. "My mother built this wing. Every stone bears a mark of her protection." Arya looked at him. "You cared for her." Cale's jaw tightened. "She was the only person who saw me as something other than a weapon." His tone softened, almost reluctantly. "When she died, I buried her under the blood moon. She said the light there was gentler." Something in her chest ached. "I'm sorry." He glanced down at her, eyes unreadable. "Don't be. Death is the only thing this world keeps its promises about." For a moment, they stood in silence. Then Arya said, "You pretend not to feel, but you do." Cale's gaze snapped to hers. "Careful." "I can sense it," she said, voice quiet but steady. "You're angry, yes. But you're also afraid. Not of others. Of yourself." He laughed softly, though there was no humor in it. "You presume too much. And you hide too much," she countered. The air between them thickened again, charged with something unnamed. Cale took a slow step closer. "You shouldn't speak to me like that." "Why not?" "Because I might forget you're human." Her pulse quickened. "Would that be so terrible?" For the first time, he hesitated. Then, with visible effort, he stepped back. "You don't know what you're asking." Arya's voice dropped to a whisper. "Then tell me." But he didn't answer. Instead, he turned and began walking down the hall. "Come," he said. "If you're going to be part of my world, you should see what it really is." She followed him through a side door she hadn't noticed before. Beyond it, a narrow stair spiraled downward, lit by lanterns that burned with blue flame. The air grew cooler with each step until they emerged into a vast underground chamber. It was filled with shelves of weapons, scrolls, and maps, an archive of war. "This is the Room of Whispers," Cale said. "Every secret this pack has ever kept lives here." Arya's eyes widened. "Why show me this?" "Because I want to see how you react to truth." He gestured to a large map pinned to the wall. Red marks covered the southern border. "These are the attacks. My wolves die while someone inside feeds our enemies. Vincent is not working alone." Arya stepped closer, her heart heavy. "You're surrounded by people, yet you trust no one." He met her gaze. "Trust gets wolves killed." She hesitated. "Then why trust me?" Cale's expression softened, but his voice remained quiet. "Because I can't hear your heartbeat lie." Their eyes locked. The air trembled. For a long moment, neither moved. Then Arya spoke, barely above a whisper. "If you want me to help, I need the truth. About everything. Why you took me, what you expect of me, what this," she touched the pendant, "means." Cale studied her, shadows flickering across his face. "Very well," he said. "You'll have the truth. But truth demands a price." She swallowed. "What price?" "You stay by my side," he said softly, "until the traitor is found. Until I say otherwise." Arya's breath caught. "You mean live here?" "With you." "Yes." He stepped closer, close enough that she could feel the warmth of him. "Under my protection. Under my rule." "And if I refuse?" His gaze darkened. "Then the next attack won't be on the border. It will be at your father's door." For a heartbeat, anger flashed through her, but beneath it, fear for her family. She lifted her chin. "Then I'll stay." Cale nodded once, the faintest hint of satisfaction in his eyes. Good. Then we begin tomorrow. He turned to leave, but she caught his arm. Cale. He paused. I don't trust you, she said. A faint smile curved his lips. You shouldn't. Then he was gone, leaving her alone in the echoing chamber, surrounded by secrets that felt too heavy for one heart to bear. Morning sunlight barely reached the gray stones of the fortress. Arya spent the early hours pacing her room, waiting for the summons she knew would come. When Vera appeared at last, the woman carried a calm that felt practiced. The Alpha requests your presence at dinner tonight, she said. Formal attire. You'll dine privately. Arya frowned. Another test? Perhaps. With him, everything is a test. The older woman left a gown on the bed, dark green silk trimmed with silver thread. It fit Arya perfectly, which meant someone had taken her measurements while she slept. The thought unsettled her more than the evening ahead. When Cale entered the private dining room that night, the firelight threw gold over the edges of his black jacket and turned his silver eyes to liquid metal. The long table was set for two. He gestured for her to sit, waiting until she obeyed. You've been exploring, he said as he poured wine. My sentries told me. I walked the corridor, she replied. That's hardly a rebellion. In my house, curiosity is rebellion. He handed her a glass. To honesty, then. Let's try it. She hesitated but raised her glass. To honesty. They drank. The wine tasted darker than anything she'd known, berries and smoke and something wild underneath. Cale watched her over the rim of his glass. Do you always speak what you feel, Arya Vale? No, she said. But I always feel more than I speak. That may save us both. He leaned back. You sense when others lie. You confirmed it in council. How does it work? She frowned. I don't really know. It's like hearing a chord go wrong. A sound in the air that doesn't belong. Cale studied her quietly. Can you hear mine? Arya met his gaze. You don't lie. You hide. That earned a slight tilt of his head. And what do I hide? Guilt. And loneliness. His smile faded. Be careful with your truths. They cut deeper than blades. Then stop asking for them. For a heartbeat neither spoke. Only the crackle of fire filled the room. Then Cale said, The last Alpha, my father, believed fear was loyalty. I killed him to prove otherwise. Arya froze. He said it so plainly that the confession seemed unreal. You killed him. He would have destroyed this pack. Some debts must be paid in blood. He met her shocked stare without flinching. Does that frighten you? Yes, she whispered. But not for the reason you think. It frightens me that you sound like you regret nothing. Cale's eyes softened just a fraction. Regret is a luxury of the innocent. I ran out of innocence long ago. They ate in silence for a while. When she set her fork down, he said quietly, I could use your gift again tomorrow. There's a new report of movement near the northern cliffs. You mean you want me to sit and feel who's lying? If it keeps my people alive, yes. Arya nodded slowly. I'll do it. But on one condition. His brow rose. You think to bargain with me? You said you value honesty. Then value this. I won't help you unless you swear my father remains untouched. Cale regarded her for a long time, then said, Done. The man lives while you serve. She expected satisfaction, but his tone sounded almost weary, as though the promise cost him something unseen. When the meal ended, Cale rose. Come with me. He led her through a corridor lined with windows that looked out over the forest. Moonlight spilled across the floor, silver and cold. Why show me this? She asked. Because you should know what you're bound to, he said. That forest belongs to the Blood Moon Pack. Every howl you hear is one of mine. Every shadow carries my mark. And me? She asked quietly. Do I carry it too? He stopped walking. "Not yet," he said, voice low. "But soon enough, everyone will think you do." Before she could question him, he turned away. "Good night, Arya Vale. Tomorrow, we begin the hunt for traitors." He left her standing in the silver light, heart pounding with questions that had no safe answers. The next evening, the mansion came alive with noise. Servants hurried through the halls carrying torches and weapons. Wolves in human form moved with tense precision. Vera found Arya waiting near the stairs. "Stay close to the Alpha tonight," she warned. "The pack gathers for the full moon council. Some resent your presence." "Why?" Arya asked. "I haven't done anything." "You exist," Vera said simply. The council took place in the open courtyard, moonlight washing the stones in silver. Dozens of pack members filled the space, half-shifted, their eyes glowing faintly. Arya stayed behind Kale, trying not to flinch when claws scraped stone. Kale raised his hand, and silence fell at once. "We stand at war's edge," he said. "A southern spy walks among us. Tonight we find him." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Kale's voice sharpened. "Arya Vale will assist me." Dozens of eyes turned toward her. Hostility burned in more than a few. "She's human," someone muttered. "She's under my protection," Kale answered. "Anyone who challenges that, challenges me." The muttering stopped. He gestured for her to stand beside him. Arya's hands trembled, but she forced herself forward. "What do you want me to do?" she whispered. "Listen," he murmured back. "You'll know when the lie comes." One by one, the wolves stepped forward to answer Kale's questions about patrols, alliances, supplies. Arya focused on the rhythm of their voices, the thrum of emotion beneath each word. Truth sounded steady, solid. Lies shivered like cracked glass. Halfway through, a tall man approached, the beta, Lysander. His amber eyes slid briefly toward Kale before he spoke. "All borders secure, Alpha. No sign of the southern scouts." The air around him vibrated wrong. Arya felt it instantly. Cold, sharp, false. She looked at Kale and gave a tiny shake of her head. Kale's tone remained calm. "Then explain the scent of southern wolves found this morning near the ravine." Lysander hesitated. "Old tracks, perhaps." "Enough," Kale said quietly. "We'll speak later." The meeting continued, but the unease lingered. When it finally ended, Kale signaled for Arya to follow him into the forest beyond the walls. They walked beneath the full moon, the air thick with pine and frost. "You were certain about him?" Kale asked. "I felt deceit," she said. "But not hatred. Maybe he's protecting someone." Kale's jaw tightened. Loyalty misplaced is betrayal all the same. "You don't trust anyone," she said. He gave a low laugh that wasn't amusement. "Trust is a myth. Wolves obey instinct. Instinct keeps us alive. And what does instinct tell you about me?" He stopped walking. "That you shouldn't be here," he said softly. "That you're dangerous in ways I don't yet understand." The wind stirred her hair. "Maybe it tells you you're afraid." Kale stepped closer, his expression unreadable. "Of you. Of what you might feel," she said. "Of what I might see." For a moment the tension between them pulsed like a living thing. Then, from deep in the woods, a distant howl split the air, long, furious, calling him. Kale's head snapped toward the sound. "Stay here." Before she could answer, he was already moving, vanishing into the trees. The moonlight caught him mid-stride, and in an instant his form blurred, bones shifting, fabric tearing. The man dissolved into motion, replaced by a huge black wolf that leapt into the shadows. Arya stared, heart hammering. She had seen him change once before from afar, but this time she felt it, the rush of power, the echo of his pulse through the ground beneath her feet. Her pendant grew hot, glowing faintly blue. She followed the sound of crashing branches until she reached the clearing. Kale, the wolf, stood over another shape, smaller, gray-furred, whimpering. The pack had cornered a trespasser. Around them, half-shifted wolves circled. "Alpha," one growled. He crossed the border carrying southern scent. Kale lowered his head, snarling. The gray wolf shifted painfully into human form, a young man, terrified, bleeding. I was only running messages," he gasped. "They said they'd spare my sister." Kale's snarl deepened. "You sold my pack for your blood." The man sobbed. "Please." Arya couldn't stop herself. "Wait." Every head turned toward her. Kale's silver eyes burned in the moonlight, wolf and man overlapping. "Don't kill him yet," she said quickly. "He's telling the truth. He was forced." "How do you know?" one of the guards demanded. "I feel it," she said. "He's terrified, not deceitful." Kale shifted back to human form, his breath steaming in the cold. He approached her slowly. "You're certain?" "Yes." He studied her a long moment, then nodded once. "Lock him in the lower cells. Find the sister." The wolves obeyed instantly. When they were alone again, Kale looked at her with something new in his eyes, respect, maybe, or the fragile start of trust. "You just defied an alpha in front of his pack. You were about to make a mistake," she said. "Do you always risk your life for strangers?" "Only when someone has to." Kale stepped closer until they were nearly touching. "You speak as if you know me already." "I'm starting to," she said softly. "You're not the monster they whisper about." He searched her face for a long time. Then his voice dropped. "And what if I am? Then maybe monsters need saving too." For a heartbeat, neither moved. The forest was silent except for their breaths. Then Kale looked away. "Go back to the house," he said hoarsely. "Before I forget what mercy feels like." Arya obeyed, though her pulse still raced. Behind her, a deep, mournful howl rose again, Kale's voice echoing through the woods, powerful and broken all at once. She paused, staring up at the blood-bright moon. The sound of him filled her chest, strange and beautiful, a promise and a warning both. For the first time, she realized she no longer wanted to escape this place. Something bound her here now, something older than debt, older than fear. The morning after the hunt dawned gray and cold. Arya sat by the fire with her hands wrapped around a mug of tea that Vera had pressed into them. The warmth helped little. Every time she closed her eyes she saw Kale's wolf form, powerful, furious, yet somehow aching. Vera studied her quietly. "You saw too much last night." "I saw the truth," Arya said. "He spared the boy because of me." "Or because he feared losing your gift," Vera replied. "The alpha always weighs what something is worth." Arya shook her head. "He didn't have to listen. He could have killed the boy anyway." The older woman sighed. "You think mercy changes what he is? You're beginning to forget why you're here." Arya looked down into her cup. "Maybe I'm beginning to see who he is." Vera hesitated, then set aside her sewing. "Then you should know this. Your gift, your empathy, it isn't ordinary." The Venery bloodline carried it once, long before the packs divided. "You feel more than emotion, Arya. You draw it in. If you stay close to an alpha too long, his rage can become yours." Arya frowned. "You're saying it's a curse." "Balance," Vera corrected. "Too much feeling breaks the mind. Too little hardens the heart. The trick is knowing when to stop listening." "How do I stop?" "You don't," Vera said simply. "You learn to survive it." Before Arya could ask more, the door opened. Kale filled the threshold, shadows trailing him. "We ride at noon," he said. "I want you with us." "Where?" "To question our prisoner." His gaze flicked toward Vera. "And tell your healer to keep the lower cells sealed. The traitor's friends may try to reach him." When he turned to leave, Arya called after him. "You trust me enough to bring me, but not enough to tell me what you're planning?" He glanced over his shoulder. "If you knew everything, you'd never come." The ride down the mountain path was silent except for the rhythm of hooves. Soldiers followed close behind, their armor dark against the snow. Cale rode beside Arya, his posture straight, eyes scanning the forest. "Vera told me about the Venery," she said at last. "About how empaths once served alphas." He didn't look at her. "They balanced the fury of our kind. Until one of them betrayed us." "Betrayed how?" "By binding herself to a rival alpha. She divided her gift between two hearts. It destroyed both." Arya felt a chill that wasn't from the cold. "So you believe that's my fate?" "I believe you should be careful whose pain you decide to share." They reached the valley just as the clouds began to thin. The lower fortress stood against the cliffs, iron-barred windows glowing faintly red from torchlight. Inside, the air was thick with the smell of damp stone and blood. The captured messenger sat chained to a post, his eyes wide when Cale entered. "Please," the man whispered. "I told the truth. They have my sister." Arya stepped forward, kneeling to meet his gaze. "Tell me what you know. Every detail." He spoke in bursts, Southern scouts crossing at night, a woman with pale eyes promising gold and freedom. Arya felt the fear pouring off him, raw and genuine. But beneath it lay something else. Confusion, as if his memories had been twisted. She looked up. Someone tampered with his mind. Cale's expression hardened. A witch. Maybe. Or a stronger empath. Cale drew his dagger and sliced through the man's bonds. "Enough. We'll find the truth elsewhere." The soldier sagged, sobbing with relief, but Cale's voice stopped him. "Run north. Don't look back." When the man had gone, Cale turned to Arya. "You risked your strength for him." She wiped her hands on her cloak. "Feeling someone's fear isn't weakness." "No," Cale said. "It's dangerous. Every emotion you touch leaves a mark. One day it won't be theirs you're feeling, it'll be mine." Arya met his eyes. "Then teach me how to carry it without breaking." For a moment he said nothing. Then he mounted his horse. "We'll see if you still ask for that after tonight." They returned to the mansion as dusk painted the snow pink. Arya changed into dry clothes, but the chill inside her remained. Outside, wolves howled in unison, a song of loyalty and warning. When Vera brought supper, Arya asked quietly, "Has he ever cared for anyone?" Vera paused. "He once had a mate. She died before the curse took full hold. Since then, no one's dared speak her name." "What curse?" "The blood moon line," Vera said. "Each alpha carries its power until the bond claims him. If the bond is denied, madness follows." Arya thought of Cale's eyes when the moonlight struck them, bright, wild, almost human but not quite. And if the bond is accepted, then the curse breaks, or consumes them both. A storm gathered that night. Wind clawed at the shutters, and thunder rolled over the peaks like the growl of a giant beast. Cale summoned the council despite the weather. When Arya entered the great hall, she saw tension carved into every face. Vincent sat near the fire, his calm smile unchanged. Lysander, the beta, stood behind him with folded arms. Cale's voice cut through the rumble outside. "Our prisoner's words confirm what we suspected. The southern packs prepare to march. Someone here feeds them our movements." He turned to Arya. "Listen." One by one, the council members spoke, protestations of loyalty, quick denials, nervous explanations. Arya let the words wash over her, searching for the wrong note. Nothing. Then Vincent rose. "Perhaps the Alpha should look closer to home. The girl's presence divides us. What proof have we that she isn't the spy?" Murmurs rippled through the room. Cale's expression didn't change, but the air around him thickened like the moment before lightning strikes. "Careful, Vincent," he said. "You question my judgment again." "I question her purpose," Vincent replied. "A human appears, and suddenly secrets vanish from your grasp. Coincidence?" Arya felt the sharp twist of deceit again, slick and poisonous. "He's lying," she said aloud. Vincent turned on her. "You dare." "Silence," Cale ordered. He stepped closer, his voice low. "You lied once in council. You lie again now. Tell me what the South offered you." For the first time, fear broke Vincent's mask. "You can't prove anything." Cale's hand shot out, gripping his throat. "Proof is overrated." The man struggled, gasping. Arya caught the surge of Cale's fury, hot, blinding, and forced herself between them. "Stop. Killing him won't help you." Cale's eyes flicked to hers. For a heartbeat she thought he might strike her too, but then his hold loosened. Vincent collapsed, choking. "Take him below," Cale said. Guards dragged the traitor away. When the doors closed, Cale faced the remaining council members. "This ends tonight. Double patrols. Seal the borders." The others hurried out, eager to escape his temper. Only Arya stayed. "You were about to kill him," she said quietly. Cale paced toward the fire. "I should have. Would that have made you feel better?" He stopped. "You think this is about feelings?" "I think it always is," she said. "You hide yours because you're afraid they'll destroy you." His head turned sharply. "And what do you think your empathy will do? Save me?" "I don't know," she admitted. "But it's already saving you from yourself." For a long moment he studied her, expression unreadable. Then he said, "You're too bold for your own safety." "Maybe," she said. "But if you lose control, who will remind you you're still human?" Something in his face cracked, the faintest tremor of emotion. "I haven't been human for a long time." The thunder outside crashed like an answer. Later that night, Arya stood at her window watching lightning split the sky. Down in the courtyard, Cale spoke with Lysander, gestures sharp and urgent. Then, as if sensing her gaze, he looked up. Their eyes met across the rain-streaked glass. He didn't look away. Moments later, someone knocked softly on her door. When she opened it, Lysander stood there, rain dripping from his cloak. "The Alpha wants you in the war room," he said. "Now." She followed him through dark halls lit by flickering torches. The storm made the walls shudder. When they reached the war room, Cale stood over a map spread across the table. Red wax markers glowed like wounds. "The Southern Army moves faster than expected," he said. "Vincent's betrayal bought them time." Arya studied the map. "Then we need to find where they'll strike first." Cale glanced at her. "We." "You said I'm valuable," she replied. "Let me prove it." He hesitated, then nodded. "Close your eyes." "What?" "Trust me." She obeyed. His hand rested lightly against the pendant at her throat. "Focus on the border," he said. "On the fear that travels through the land." At first she felt nothing. Then a rush of images, dark trees, the scent of smoke, a scream cut short. She gasped. "The Western Pass. They're waiting there." Cale's hand dropped. "You saw this." "I felt it." He turned to his captains. "Prepare the riders. We move before dawn." When the others had gone, Arya leaned against the table, trembling. Cale caught her before she fell. "Easy," he said. "You gave too much." "It's nothing," she managed. He frowned. "You don't understand. Every time you reach like that, you take the burden onto yourself. The next time could break you. Then don't ask me to do it again." "I'll ask," he said quietly. "Because I need you. But I'll find a way to protect you from it." Their faces were close now, the air between them thin as paper. She could feel the heat of his breath, the pull of something neither dared name. Then he stepped back. "Go with Vera. Rest." She wanted to argue, but exhaustion dragged at her limbs. As she turned to leave, he said her name, softly, almost a plea. "Arya." She looked back. "When the moon rises red again," he said, "don't be afraid of what you feel. It may be the only thing keeping me from becoming the monster they expect." That night she dreamed of the forest burning, of wolves crying beneath a crimson sky, and of a hand reaching for hers through the smoke. When she woke, the storm had passed, but the scent of ash lingered, as if the dream were more than memory, more than warning. Somewhere beyond the walls, a lone wolf howled. The sound carried through the cold dawn and settled in her chest like a promise she could no longer ignore. The next dawn bled pale light across the mountains. The storm had passed, but the world felt bruised. Arya woke to the sound of horns echoing from the courtyard below, the signal for departure. The Blood Moon Pack was preparing for war. When she stepped out of her chamber, Vera was already waiting. The older woman's hands were brisk as she fastened Arya's cloak. "The Alpha wants you at his side for the ride west. He won't say why." Arya's stomach knotted. "He wants me to use the gift again. Perhaps. Or perhaps he simply doesn't trust anyone else now." The courtyard seethed with movement. Wolves in armor, black horses stamping clouds of breath, servants carrying bundles of weapons. Kale stood at the center of it all, issuing orders. Even in chaos, every motion bent around him like iron drawn to a magnet. When he saw her, his expression softened a fraction. "You shouldn't be out in this cold," he said. "You asked for me," she replied, pulling her hood tighter. "I came." "Then mount up. We'll reach the western ridge before nightfall." They rode through the morning into thin mountain air. Kale kept her close, his presence steady as the terrain grew rough. Below, the forest spread like a sea of dark needles. Above, the sky deepened toward indigo. Around midday, the column halted at a stream. Arya knelt to drink, but the water shimmered strangely, red glints swirling beneath the surface. She looked up sharply. Blood. Kale crouched beside her. Old tracks. They were here recently. His soldiers fanned out to search. Arya pressed her hand to the ground. A rush of emotion struck her, terror, despair, a sense of running that ended too soon. "They were hunted," she whispered. "Not your men, Southerners fleeing something worse." Kale studied her, brow furrowed. "Show me." She closed her eyes. For a moment, the world tilted, images flashing, shadows moving through fog, the scent of iron, a wolf with eyes like molten gold. Pain stabbed behind her temples. Kale caught her before she fell. "Enough," he said. "You'll burn yourself out." She shook her head. "Kale, someone else hunts them. Not you." He frowned. "The Southern Alpha?" "No. Something older." Before he could answer, a horn sounded from the ridge, 3 long notes. "Warning." Kale's voice cut through the noise. "Positions." Arya barely had time to move before arrows whistled through the trees. Wolves leapt to shield their alpha, some shifting midair, for bursting through flesh. Kale drew his sword, silver gleaming in the dim light. "Stay behind me." She ducked as the first attacker broke from the forest, a man with eyes glowing crimson. Not a southern wolf. Something darker. The moment he met Kale's gaze, his body convulsed, a black mist spilling from his mouth. Arya's pendant flared white. The sound that tore from the man's throat wasn't human, it was pain given form. The mist recoiled from the light and vanished. Kale turned to her, breathing hard. "How did you do that?" "I didn't. It did itself." He looked at the pendant, then at her. "It recognizes the curse." "The curse." He grabbed her wrist. "That wasn't a wolf. It was a bloodbound, one of the dead raised by dark vows. Someone's binding them with my family's mark." Her skin prickled under his grip. "Then whoever commands them wants you. And now they'll know I'm not alone." His eyes flicked to her glowing pendant. "They'll know about you." By dusk the attack was over. The pack made camp beneath a cliff wall. Fires burned low. Sentries patrolled the perimeter. Arya sat wrapped in a blanket, watching sparks drift into the cold air. Kale approached quietly, a fresh bandage around his arm. "You saved us," he said. "I reacted," she replied. "I don't even understand what happened." "You channeled the bond." She frowned. "What bond?" "The one between us," he said simply. When my mark answered your pendant, something awakened. I felt it, the moment your light drove the shadow back. Arya stared into the fire. You're saying we're connected. Kale knelt beside her. I'm saying the blood moon chooses balance. Every alpha is bound to an empath strong enough to hold his power. You are that balance. Her heart thudded. You think I'm your mate. I know you are, he said. The bond doesn't lie. Arya shook her head, stepping back. You're wrong. I never asked for this. Neither did I, Kale said. But the bond doesn't care what we want. Lightning flashed across the clouds far to the west. Arya turned away, trying to steady her breath. If it's true, then what happens now? He hesitated. If we fight it, the curse will devour me. If we accept it, it could destroy you. Then we find another way. A small smile ghosted his lips. You speak as if choice exists. He left her then, his shadow merging with the dark. When she looked at the flames again, she could still feel him, his heartbeat thrumming faintly beneath her own, like an echo she couldn't silence. The following night they reached the western pass. Snow drifted in thin veils over the rocks, and the wind carried distant howls that were not of Kale's pack. He ordered the soldiers to hold position while he and Arya scouted ahead. The trail wound between cliffs glowing faintly in the moonlight. Here and there, scorched earth marked where the bloodbound had passed. Arya felt the weight of unseen eyes. They're near. Kale nodded. Stay close. A figure appeared at the mouth of the ravine. Lysander, Kale's beta. Relief flickered across Kale's face. You made it. Barely, Lysander said. His clothes were torn, his expression strained. We fought them at the lower valley. They scattered. Arya stepped forward, frowning. He's lying. Both men turned toward her. What? Kale demanded. He's hiding something, she said. I can feel it. Lysander's jaw tightened. You think to judge me, human? Kale's voice went cold. Answer her. The beta's hands clenched. You wouldn't understand. They have my kin. If I didn't cooperate, they'd. Kale's sword was at his throat before he finished. You betrayed me. I tried to protect them, Lysander said. I sent false reports, nothing more. You cost lives, Kale hissed. You almost cost hers. Arya touched his arm. Stop. He's telling the truth now. Kale's breathing slowed, but the fury still burned in his eyes. Go. Get out of my sight before I change my mind. Lysander bowed his head and vanished into the shadows. Arya turned to Kale. You can't kill everyone who hurts you. He sheathed the blade. I can kill those who endanger my pack. And who protects you from yourself? His gaze softened, just a little. You. They set camp beneath the cliffs. Snow fell heavier now, muting sound and light. Arya sat near the fire, tracing patterns in the frost. Do you think he'll come back? Kale looked into the flames. Loyalty bends, but it rarely breaks completely. He'll choose his side soon enough. When the wind shifted, a low howl rose from the valley, followed by another, closer. Kale's head snapped up. They're here. The bloodbound surged from the darkness, black shapes writhing in the snow. Arya's pendant flared again, bathing the clearing in silver. Kale drew his sword, shouting for his wolves. The battle crashed around them, steel and claws, blood staining the snow. Arya felt the emotions of everyone around her. Fear, rage, pain. It threatened to drown her. She dropped to her knees, pressing her palms into the ground. The pendant pulsed faster. Stop, she whispered, but the power kept building. Kale saw her and fought his way toward her. Arya, let it go. I can't. Light burst from her hands, sweeping through the clearing like a storm. The bloodbound shrieked as the glow tore through their shadows, dissolving them into smoke. When it ended, silence fell. The snow around her glowed faintly blue. Kale caught her before she collapsed. "You're bleeding," he said, seeing the crimson seeping from her nose. "I'm fine," she murmured. "It's just too much." He pressed a hand against her cheek, forcing her to meet his eyes. "Listen to me. Every time you draw on that power, it binds us tighter. You're carrying my rage, my pain. You'll burn out if you don't stop. Then teach me control," she whispered. Kale hesitated, then leaned closer, voice rough. "Control isn't learned. It's shared." His hand slipped to the pendant, his thumb brushing the glowing stone. The bond flared again, threads of light weaving between them, pain and warmth and something dangerously like peace. Arya gasped. For the first time she didn't resist. The surge settled inside her, quiet as falling snow. Kale exhaled slowly. "Good," he said. "Now we move before more come." They traveled through the night, following the river east. By dawn the pack had regrouped at a ruined watchtower. Vera met them with supplies, her eyes widening when she saw Arya's pale face. "What happened?" she demanded. Kale's tone was clipped. "The bloodbound attacked. She drove them off." "At what cost?" Vera turned to Arya. "You're trembling." "I'll live," Arya said. "Kale helped me control it." Vera shot him a hard look. "Control or connection?" "Both," Kale said evenly. "The bond is active now. There's no denying it." Vera drew a slow breath. "Then the curse has chosen its path." Arya's pulse quickened. "What does that mean?" "It means," Vera said, "that if either of you falls, the other will follow." Kale's expression didn't change, but the line of his shoulders tightened. "Then neither of us will fall." He turned away, issuing orders to the guards. Arya watched him, exhaustion blurring her thoughts. She should have felt trapped, but instead a strange calm filled her. For the first time since arriving, she wasn't alone inside her own head. His heartbeat still echoed faintly through hers, steady and relentless. When she finally lay down to rest, she whispered into the dawn, "Whatever this bond is, I won't let it break you." Far above, the clouds shifted, revealing a sliver of crimson moonlight sliding across the peaks, silent, watchful, waiting. The fortress felt different after the battle. The corridors seemed to hum with restless energy, as if the walls themselves had heard what happened in the mountains. Arya could feel the tension moving through the pack. Fear, awe, uncertainty. Whispers followed her wherever she went. The human who burned the shadows, the girl who carries the Alpha's bond. By evening, Kale called a council. The long table was crowded again with wary faces. Arya stood at his right hand, still pale but steady. Kale's voice carried through the hall like thunder waiting to strike. "The bloodbound are no rumor. We've seen them, southern soldiers turned into hollow beasts. Whoever commands them knows the curse of our bloodline. And now they know our bond exists." A low murmur rippled through the room. Someone whispered, "The human should be hidden." Kale's gaze silenced them. "She stays beside me. She's the reason any of you breathe tonight." Arya felt the weight of those words and wished he hadn't said them aloud. The pack's loyalty was a dangerous thing. It could turn to suspicion just as quickly. After the meeting, Kale dismissed everyone except her and Vera. The older woman looked uneasy. "You plan to leave again so soon?" "I can't defend this pack from within these walls," Kale said. "If the bloodbound cross again, we need allies." "Then let me go with you," Arya said. "No," the word was sharp. "You're still recovering. I can help you read them, Kale. You need me." Vera cleared her throat. "If she stays, the curse grows stronger. You can't separate without pain. You know that." Kale rubbed a hand over his face. "Yes. I feel it already. When she's too far, the bond tightens like a chain." Arya's heart stuttered. "Then you're bound." He nodded. "In every sense of the word." "Is there a way to break it?" she asked. Vera hesitated. "Only one. A blood oath, a ritual that severs connection at the cost of memory. You'd forget everything you shared. Silence filled the room. Cale looked at Arya. Do you want that? She searched his face, the exhaustion behind the calm, the small line between his brows that always deepened when he looked at her. No, she said quietly. Not yet. Something softened in his eyes, a flicker of relief quickly hidden. Then we endure it together. That night, sleep refused to come. Arya walked the balcony outside her chamber, cold wind tugging at her hair. Below, the courtyard glowed with torchlight as the pack drilled for war. The world felt heavy with expectation. A shadow moved behind her. You should rest, Cale said. She turned. He stood without his cloak, dressed in black that caught the moonlight. You don't look like you've rested either, she said. Alphas don't sleep easily. He leaned against the railing beside her. When I close my eyes, I see what's coming. Fire. Loss. You, standing at its center. I didn't ask for this bond, she murmured. Neither did I. But it's ours now. His voice lowered. Do you know why my kind fear it? Because it leaves no secrets. You felt my anger, my guilt. I felt your fear. There's nothing we can hide. She looked at him. Then stop pretending you're made of stone. Cale's mouth curved in a faint smile. If I stop pretending, I might not stop at all. For a moment, the night held them still. Two shapes caught between duty and something far more dangerous. Then Cale straightened. Tomorrow, we ride to the border fort. I'll need your senses sharp. Arya nodded, though her heart felt heavy. And if the curse grows stronger? Then we learn to live with it, he said, and left her staring at the moon, wondering if living with it would cost them both their souls. The next day, the journey south began under leaden skies. Arya rode behind Cale, the road winding through frost-bitten woods. She could feel the pulse of the bond now, steady and insistent, a second heartbeat beating inside her. Whenever Cale drew too far ahead, pain sparked low in her chest, pulling her toward him. By evening they reached the border fort, a bleak outpost carved into the mountainside. Inside, soldiers bowed their heads as Cale passed. He commanded respect without a word. In the central chamber, a large map covered the wall, its surface marked by lines of wax and ink. Cale traced the newest reports. The bloodbound move faster than we thought. They've taken 2 villages already. Arya felt the echo of fear ripple through the room. Then they'll reach us within days. Yes. Cale's voice was grim. Unless we stop them first. That night, thunder rolled in the distance again. Arya sat near the fire while Cale spoke with his captains. The flicker of flames cast his face in light and shadow. When the others left, he turned to her. You're shaking. I'm cold, she lied. No, you're feeling them. He crossed the room. Your empathy is stretching across the distance. You're connected to the fear in the villages. She looked up, startled. How do you know? Because I feel it too. He touched his chest. The bond shares more than power now, it shares everything. Then it's killing us slowly, she said. Maybe, Cale admitted. But if it's what keeps this curse from consuming me, I'll pay the price. Arya met his eyes. You shouldn't have to. He leaned closer. And you shouldn't have to bear what isn't yours. Yet here we are. The fire cracked, scattering sparks between them. For a long moment, neither moved. Then Cale said, softly, Whatever happens, don't fear what ties us. Fear what happens if it's broken. Snow began falling the next morning, soft at first, then heavy enough to blur the mountains. The fort scouts hadn't returned. Cale paced the walls, his breath misting in the cold. Arya followed, the bite of winter seeping through her gloves. They should have been back by now, she said. They won't return, Cale replied. The bloodbound have reached the valley. He called for his commanders. Evacuate the non-combatants. Prepare the wolves. Cale, Arya said, we can't fight all of them. I don't intend to. His tone was ice. We draw them into the ravine, burn the bridge behind us, and seal the pass. It's the only way. But your men know what they signed for, he interrupted. I won't let their deaths be in vain. Arya grabbed his arm. There has to be another way. He turned, eyes hard. You think I want this? Every order I give tears at what's left of me. She released him, her anger fading to helplessness. Then let me help. You already are. His voice softened. Just stay alive, Arya. That's all I ask. By midday, the snowstorm swallowed the valley. Shadows moved within the white, too many to count. The bloodbound came like a tide, their bodies shrouded in black smoke. Kale's wolves met them at the cliffs, steel clashing against darkness. Arya stood behind the front lines, her pendant glowing bright enough to cut through the storm. She closed her eyes, reaching outward. The emotions crashed into her like waves, rage, hunger, despair. She pushed back with everything she had, sending calm through the bond that linked her to Kale. He felt it instantly. The snarl that tore from his throat shifted into focus. His strikes grew sharper, more controlled. Together they moved like parts of one creature, instinct meeting empathy, strength meeting heart. But the cost was immense. Every wound he took, she felt. Every fear she eased, she absorbed. Blood trickled from her nose again, her vision dimming. Through the haze she saw movement on the ridge. Seraphine, the Southern Alpha's daughter, her pale cloak whipping in the wind. A cruel smile curved her lips. So this is the famous bond, she shouted. Let's see how strong it really is. She raised her hands, and fire burst from the snow, sweeping toward them. Kale lunged to shield Arya, but the flames curled around them both, searing the ground. Arya cried out, pressing her pendant against his chest. The light erupted once more, meeting the fire head-on. For a heartbeat, fire and frost collided, two forces locked in impossible balance. Then the world exploded into silence. When the smoke cleared, the bloodbound were gone. The snow around them had melted into a perfect circle of steam. Kale knelt beside Arya, who lay motionless, her pendant cracked down the center. Arya, he whispered, shaking her shoulder. Her eyes fluttered open. You're hurt. So are you, she murmured. His sleeve was scorched, blood seeping through. But you're alive. Because of you. He brushed snow from her hair. Because you chose to stand in the fire. She smiled weakly. Someone had to remind you what mercy feels like. Kale's jaw tightened, emotion breaking through the mask he always wore. Don't ever do that again. Promise me something then, she said. When the next blood moon rises, don't face it alone. He hesitated, then nodded. I promise. She reached for his hand, their fingers intertwining. The bond hummed faintly, damaged, but alive. All around them, the surviving wolves lifted their heads to the sky and howled, a low, mournful sound that carried over the frozen peaks. Kale listened, his eyes on the horizon where the storm was clearing. This isn't over, he said. Arya squeezed his hand. No, she whispered. It's only beginning. That night, as the pack buried their dead, Kale stood alone at the edge of the ravine. Arya approached quietly, her steps soft in the snow. The wind carried the scent of ash and pine between them. They'll sing of this day, she said. They'll sing of the price, Kale answered, and the debt that still remains. She stood beside him. You kept them alive. You kept me alive. He looked at her then, truly looked, at the soot on her skin, the crack in her pendant, the quiet fire in her eyes. You keep me human, he said. Maybe that's the curse, she replied. Maybe we're both learning what it means to be human. He reached out, brushing his thumb across the mark glowing faintly at her throat. The bond won't rest now. It will keep calling. It will demand completion. And if we refuse? Kale's gaze turned toward the blood-red sliver of moon rising behind the peaks. Then it will break us both. For a long time they stood there, side by side, watching the light spread across the snow. The night was cold, But between them the air burned with something fierce and unspoken, a promise, a warning, a beginning shaped in frost and flame. The fortress was quiet after the battle. Too quiet. Snow had stopped falling, leaving the world painted in silver and ash. Smoke from the burned bridge drifted faintly across the valley below. Inside, the wolves moved like ghosts, tending to the wounded and burying the dead. Arya could feel the exhaustion in them, like a dull ache under her own skin. The bond had grown stronger since the fire, alive, pulsing, impossible to ignore. Every time Kale entered a room, she felt it flare. He had not spoken much since the battle. He spent his days among the patrols, his nights pacing the halls. The distance between them felt deliberate, as if he feared what might happen if he stood too close for too long. On the third morning, Vera found Arya in the library. "He's pushing himself past reason," she said. "If he falls, the pack will break. Talk to him." Arya hesitated. "He doesn't want me near him." "Then go anyway," Vera said firmly. "Bonded hearts can't heal apart." She found Kale in the war room. Maps littered the table, candles burned to stubs. His hair was damp with sweat, his jaw shadowed with fatigue. "You're still bleeding," she said quietly. "That cut on your arm hasn't closed." "It will." He didn't look up. "There's work left to do." She crossed the room and put her hand over the map. "There's always work left to do. But if you keep driving yourself like this, you'll lose more than this war." Kale lifted his gaze. "And what would you have me do? Rest while the world burns? I'd have you remember you're not alone in it." She met his eyes. "You said the bond makes us one. Then stop carrying everything yourself." He stared at her for a long time before exhaling slowly. "You think it's that simple?" "No," Arya said. "But it's better than watching you fade into the thing you fear." Kale leaned against the table, the weight of command heavy on his shoulders. "The pack whispers about me. They call me cursed. A true alpha shouldn't need a human's help to keep from losing his mind." "Maybe they're wrong about what a true alpha is," she said. "Maybe strength isn't just power. Maybe it's what you protect despite it." He looked at her then, something fragile breaking through the hard mask. "You sound like my mother." Then she must have been right. Kale's mouth curved in a faint, tired smile. "She usually was." Before Arya could reply, a horn sounded from the gate below, 3 short notes of alarm. Kale was moving before the echo faded. Arya followed him through the corridors and out onto the ramparts. Below, riders approached across the snow, carrying a flag of truce. Kale's eyes narrowed. Southern colors. The lead rider dismounted and stepped forward, hood falling back to reveal Seraphine, the Southern Alpha's daughter. Her beauty was sharp, flawless, and dangerous. She bowed slightly, though her smile carried no respect. "Kale Thorne," she said. "How strange to find you still alive." "Disappointed?" Kale asked, voice cool. "Surprised," she replied. "Your father's line always did have a habit of dying young." Kale's jaw tightened. "Say what you came to say." "I come with a proposal," Seraphine said. Her gaze slid to Arya, who stood behind him. "A peace sealed by union. You and I, Kale. Our packs united. The blood moon curse broken." Arya felt a cold twist in her stomach. "You think he would ever trust you?" Seraphine smiled sweetly. "And you think he'll choose a human over his people? Don't be naive, little empath." Kale stepped between them. "You'll take your message and go." "You should listen," Seraphine said softly. "Your beta already has." Arya's breath caught. "Lysander." Seraphine's smile widened. "He kneels to a truer alpha now. One who will not fall to sentiment." She turned and remounted her horse. "When the blood moon rises again, Kale Thorne, I will come for what's mine." The riders vanished into the trees, leaving only the faint smell of smoke in their wake. Kale's expression darkened. "If Lysander's betrayed us fully, he'll lead her here." Arya touched his arm. Then we'll stop them. He looked down at her hand, then up into her face. You still say, we. Always. For a heartbeat he said nothing, then turned away. Then prepare the fortress. Tonight, we seal the gates. That night, under a moon half-shrouded in cloud, the pack gathered in the great hall. Torches burned high, their light dancing over stone and steel. Kale stood before them, his voice carrying like wind over the mountains. Tomorrow, the blood moon rises again. Our enemies march beneath its light. We will not yield, and we will not bow. A chorus of howls rose in answer. Arya felt the surge of unity, pride, fear, all of it flowing through her and into him. The bond pulsed once, bright as lightning. Then Kale drew a dagger from his belt and turned toward her. To fight beside me, you must share my blood, my strength, my curse. Do you accept? Arya's breath caught. What does that mean? A blood oath, Vera said from the side. It binds your life to his. His wounds become yours. His death, your death. Kale held out his hand. Say the word, Arya, and I'll spare you this. But if you stand with me, there's no turning back. She met his eyes. Then we face it together. He nodded once. Then he sliced his palm and offered it to her. She hesitated only a moment before doing the same. When their hands met, heat flared between them, searing but not painful. Their mingled blood glowed faintly red, the mark of the bond deepening across their skin. By the moon and by the flame, Kale said, voice low and resonant, our fates are one. Arya echoed him softly. One. The pack fell silent. Somewhere outside, thunder rolled. The next evening, the moon rose full and red over the peaks. Its light washed the fortress in crimson, and the bond inside Arya burned like a second sun. Every heartbeat she felt was his, every breath she took echoed in his chest. Kale stood at the parapet, watching the horizon. They'll come before dawn, he said. The bloodbound, and Seraphine's army behind them. Arya joined him. Then we meet them head-on. He gave her a sidelong look. You sound like a general. I'm learning from one. Below, the pack gathered, rows of armored wolves, their eyes gleaming like stars. Drums beat a steady rhythm, echoing through the mountain passes. The air was thick with expectation and the copper taste of coming blood. At midnight, the first horns sounded. Shadows moved across the snow, hundreds of them. The bloodbound came in a crawling wave, and above them rode Seraphine, her cloak blazing white in the red light. Kale Thorn, she called. Kneel now, and I may spare your pack. Kale stepped forward, voice calm. You talk too much. He raised his hand, and the gates burst open. The wolves charged. The battle that followed shook the mountains. Steel met claw, fire met frost. Arya fought beside Kale, her pendant blazing, her mind open. Every strike he made, she fueled with focus. Every wound he took, she shared until her body trembled with pain. Through the chaos, Seraphine advanced, her magic cutting through soldiers like wind through grass. She stopped before them, eyes glowing gold. End this, Kale. Submit, and she lives. Over my dead body, he said. That can be arranged. She lifted her hands. The air screamed. A burst of light struck the ground between them, hurling Arya backward. Kale turned, calling her name, but the smoke swallowed her. Arya woke to silence. The world around her had shifted, colors drained, sound muted. She was standing in a circle of faint silver light surrounded by shadowed forms. The spirits of Alpha's past stared down at her, eyes gleaming like stars. Who are you? She whispered. The blood moon remembers, a voice said, a chorus of 100. You carry the heart of the Venery, and the soul of the cursed. The balance reborn. Arya trembled. Kale, he needs me. I have to go back. Not until you understand. The circle brightened. Images flickered, Kale's ancestors, the curse being forged, blood spilled beneath the first red moon. Power unbalanced becomes hunger. The bond is the only path to peace. Then let me use it, she pleaded. Let me save him. Will you bear the cost? 1 life, 1 soul. I'll pay it, she said. Whatever it takes. Light engulfed her. When she opened her eyes again, she was back on the battlefield. Cale knelt nearby, blood on his face, Seraphine standing over him. Say the word and it ends, Seraphine hissed. Cale's voice was hoarse. Never. Arya rose, the mark on her throat burning. Then it ends with me. Seraphine turned. You again. Arya lifted her hands. The pendant split the air with light, pure, white, unstoppable. The glow spread outward, touching every wolf, every shadow, every heart on the field. The blood-bound froze, then dissolved into mist. Seraphine screamed as the light struck her, her body fading into smoke and snow. The silence that followed was total. Cale staggered to his feet, staring at Arya as the glow faded. You did it. We did it, she said. Then her knees buckled. He caught her, holding her against his chest. Stay with me. Her eyes fluttered open. The ancestors said the bond's true. It's more than curse, it's promise. Cale pressed his forehead to hers. Then we live it. Together. Outside, the red moon began to pale, its light softening to silver. The night that had begun in fire ended in quiet frost. Around them, the pack raised a howl that echoed off the mountains. Mourning, victory, and rebirth woven into one sound. And though Cale held her tightly, he knew the bond had changed forever. It no longer chained them. It chose them. The dawn after Seraphine's defeat broke slow and gray. The mountains were silent except for the wind threading through the trees. Ash still clung to the air, and where the snow had melted, black earth steamed. Arya lay wrapped in furs inside the healer's chamber, her skin pale but her breathing even. Cale had not left her side. Every few moments he reached out, as though to make sure she was real. Each time his fingers brushed hers, a faint pulse answered, a reminder of the bond still burning between them. When she finally stirred, the sound of her voice was barely a whisper. It's over. For now, he said. Her gaze searched his. How many did we lose? Too many, he admitted. But the pack stands. The bloodbound are gone, and Seraphine is dust. Arya tried to sit up. Then the curse. Still lives, Cale said quietly. You broke her spell, not our bloods. She reached for his hand. We'll find a way. Together. He closed his fingers around hers, but his eyes were distant. You nearly died last night. I would have, if not for you. I felt it, he said. Every heartbeat you missed. He exhaled slowly. Don't ask me to live through that again. Before she could answer, the door opened and Vera entered, her face grim. You should come, she said to Cale. There's been movement at the southern border. Cale rose immediately. The survivors? Not just them, Vera said. The southern packs march under a new banner. Arya frowned. A new alpha? Lysander, Vera said. Cale's expression hardened. Then the war's not over. By nightfall, the fortress was alive with preparation. The pack gathered in the courtyards, sharpening blades and patching armor. Cale moved among them, issuing quiet orders, his presence steady and fierce. Arya followed, her steps still unsteady but her resolve firm. When they reached the gatehouse, she caught his arm. You can't face him alone. I have to, he said. He knows my tactics, my weaknesses. If he brings the southern armies north, every pack between here and the sea will burn. Then take me, Arya said. If the bond links us, maybe it can help us fight. Cale studied her. You're still recovering. I'm not helpless. A long silence passed before he nodded once. You ride with me, but you stay behind the first line. If anything happens, you run. Arya met his gaze. And leave you? You don't know me at all. A faint, weary smile crossed his lips. Unfortunately, I do. The next day, the Blood Moon Pack marched south. The world below the peaks was waking from winter. Rivers cracked open, trees shivered with new buds. Yet every mile they traveled brought signs of war, villages burned, banners torn, wolves' bodies frozen in the thawing snow. At dusk they reached the valley of the Twin Rivers. Across the wide plain, the Southern army waited, a dark mass of armor and fur. At its head rode Lysander, his golden eyes glinting in the dying light. Cale rode forward until only a few yards separated them. "You should have stayed dead," he said. "I could say the same," Lysander replied. "The pack needs a leader who isn't chained by weakness." "Call it what you want," Cale said. "I call it loyalty." Lysander smiled thinly. "You call it love. That's why you'll lose." Without another word, he raised his hand. The southern wolves surged forward. The battle hit like a storm. Cale's command carried through the chaos, short, sharp, unbreakable. His wolves moved in perfect rhythm, striking, retreating, circling. Arya stayed near the ridge, her pendant glowing as she focused on the emotions flooding the field: rage, pain, terror. She filtered them, channeled them back as unity and strength. The bond between her and Cale thrummed like a heartbeat guiding the entire pack. But the southern forces were larger, their numbers endless. The tide began to turn. Lysander moved through the melee like a phantom, striking down Cale's men with ruthless precision. When his blade finally met Cale's, the clash rang through the valley. They fought like brothers turned gods, silver and gold flashing in the storm of snow and blood. Every blow Cale took rippled through Arya's body. Every strike he made sent light through her veins. She gasped as pain and power mingled until she could barely tell which was hers. At last Lysander broke away, retreating toward the cliffs. Cale followed, their battles spilling out of sight. Arya spurred her horse forward, ignoring Vera's shout behind her. She found them at the cliff's edge, blades locked, snow swirling around them like ash. "Enough!" she cried. "Stop this!" Lysander turned toward her, eyes wild. "He's not fit to lead. Look at what he's become, half human, half cursed." Cale's voice was a growl. "Better cursed than faithless." Their swords met one last time. Lysander stumbled, slipping on the ice, and Cale's blade pierced his chest. The golden light in the beta's eyes dimmed. He fell to his knees. "I only wanted to save them," Lysander whispered. Cale lowered his sword, grief flickering behind his fury. "Then you should have trusted me." Lysander's gaze slid toward Arya. "The bond will destroy you both." Then he was still. The wind howled across the cliffs, carrying away the last of his breath. Cale stood motionless for a moment, then turned to Arya. "It's done." She looked at him, at the blood on his hands, the exhaustion in his eyes. "No," she said softly. "It's only beginning." That night, they burned the dead beneath the twin moons. Flames rose high, casting light across the valley. Cale stood apart from the others, silent. When Arya approached, he didn't turn. "He was my brother," he said. "Before power took us both." "I know," she whispered. He looked at her then, eyes full of weary sorrow. "You shouldn't have followed me." "I told you," she said. "I don't run." For a long moment, they stood in silence, the fire painting their faces gold and red. Then Cale said, "When this war ends, promise me something." "What?" "Live. Even if I don't." She shook her head. "That's not a promise I can keep." The following days passed in uneasy quiet. The southern armies had scattered, but the cost of victory hung heavy. The fortress became a place of mourning, songs for the fallen echoing through the halls. Arya moved among the wounded, using her gift to soothe what pain she could. Each time she reached out, she felt Cale's strength flicker inside her, distant but present. He spent most hours in the tower, watching the horizon. When she climbed to find him one evening, the wind nearly tore her cloak away. He stood bareheaded, staring at the crimson dusk. "You should be inside," she said. "I can't feel the cold anymore," he answered. "That's how I know the curse is growing." She went to him. Then let me share it. Kale turned, eyes luminous in the fading light. You've shared enough. You once told me the bond keeps you sane, she said. Then let it keep us both alive. He touched her cheek lightly, almost afraid she might vanish. If I lose control, you won't. He closed his eyes. You have more faith in me than I do. Then borrow mine, she whispered. That night, the blood moon rose again, huge and low, washing the fortress in red light. Kale woke from a dream of fire, his chest tight with pain. He stumbled to his feet and realized the mark on his wrist was glowing brighter than ever. The curse was reaching its peak. He followed the pull through the corridors to Arya's room. She was already awake, her pendant blazing like a star. Kale, she breathed. It's happening. The air shimmered around them, the bond flaring with power too vast to contain. Kale dropped to one knee, his body trembling. It's taking me, he gasped. I can't stop it. Arya knelt beside him, gripping his shoulders. Then don't fight it alone. He shook his head violently. If you take it, it'll kill you. Maybe it will. But I'd rather die with you than watch you become something you're not. The light between them exploded, filling the chamber with white fire. Memories flashed through her mind, his first smile, his hand on hers, the sound of his laughter buried beneath rage. She saw every wound he'd carried and felt every heartbeat he'd denied himself. Arya, he shouted, but she didn't let go. Trust me, she whispered. Let me in. The bond reached its breaking point, and then fused, burning from agony into something vast and calm. The mark on his arm dimmed. The shadows inside him dissolved. When the light faded, Kale collapsed, motionless. Arya fell beside him, barely breathing. When he woke, the moon had set. The curse was gone. The silence inside his mind, once filled with hunger and fury, was finally still. Kale turned and found Arya lying beside him, her skin pale as frost. Her pendant, once bright, was dull and cracked. He gathered her in his arms. Arya, please, he whispered. Don't leave me now. For a long moment, nothing. Then she stirred, eyelids fluttering. You're free. He choked out a laugh that broke halfway into a sob. Because of you. Her smile was faint but real. Told you. I wouldn't run. Kale held her close, the first light of dawn spilling across the floor. The world outside the window was quiet. No howls, no war drums, only the steady heartbeat shared between them. For the first time in generations, the blood moon curse was broken. The price had been everything, and yet somehow it felt worth it. Kale pressed his forehead against hers. Rest, he whispered. We're home. Outside, the sun rose over the peaks, melting the last of the snow. The fortress breathed again, alive in the morning light. The war was over, and in its silence, two souls bound by blood and fire finally found peace. For 3 days, Arya drifted between dreams and silence. Kale kept watch beside her bed, refusing food or sleep. The healers could do nothing. Their herbs couldn't touch magic as old as the bond. The crack in her pendant glowed faintly, pulsing in time with her heartbeat. Vera came often, bringing water and quiet words. You can't sit there forever, she told Kale on the second night. He didn't look away from Arya. If she dies, the curse returns. And if you die with her? Kale's jaw tightened. Then at least it ends together. Vera sighed. You were never meant to bear peace, were you? Even when it's handed to you. Kale gave no answer. He only reached out and brushed a strand of hair from Arya's face. Her skin was cool, but when he touched the pendant, a spark jumped between them. A faint shimmer of light, like breath returning. He leaned closer. Arya, he whispered. If you can hear me, come back. The world isn't finished with us yet. Something stirred beneath his hand. The pendant glowed brighter. Her lips parted, a whisper escaping so soft he almost thought he imagined it. Kale. He froze. I'm here. Her eyes opened slowly. The gray in them seemed deeper, shadowed by exhaustion, but alive. "It worked," she breathed. "The curse, it's gone." Cale laughed, the sound raw and disbelieving. "You did it. You broke it." She tried to sit up, but the effort made her wince. "We did it," she said. "Together." He helped her lean against the pillows. "Rest. You've been asleep for days." Arya studied his face, noticing for the first time the change in him. The tension that had lived between his brows for as long as she'd known him was gone. His eyes, still sharp, still silver, no longer glowed with the madness of the curse. There was warmth now, and something like peace. "You're different," she said softly. "So are you." Vera entered quietly, relief breaking through her usual composure. "Thank the moons," she muttered. "You've both terrified half the fortress." Arya managed a weak smile. "You don't look surprised." Vera shrugged. "I've seen enough magic in this house to last 10 lifetimes. But this—" her eyes softened. "This is new." Cale stood. "Gather the council," he told Vera. "They'll want proof the curse is gone." When she left, Arya reached for him. "They'll doubt it. Then they'll see," Cale said. "No more fear. No more shadows. If I must bleed to prove it, I will." She caught his hand. "No more bleeding." He smiled faintly. "That's not a promise I can keep." That afternoon, the great hall filled again. The pack assembled, soldiers, elders, even the youngest wolves standing in silent anticipation. Cale entered first, the light following him. Arya walked beside him, still pale but upright. A hush fell across the room. Cale faced them. "For generations, the blood moon curse ruled us. It made us monsters in our own skins. It took fathers from sons, mates from hearts. But the curse is broken." A ripple of disbelief ran through the crowd. Cale drew his dagger and pressed the blade against his palm. When the cut opened, no red light flared. No shadow followed. Only blood. "See for yourselves," he said. "The bond stands, but the curse does not." Vera stepped forward. The prophecy is fulfilled. The Alpha's blood and the Empatha's heart, balance restored. The hall erupted in sound, cheers, howls, shouts that shook the rafters. Cale turned to Arya, and for the first time since his father's death, he smiled freely. "You saved us," he said. She shook her head. "We saved each other." That night, the pack celebrated beneath the stars. Bonfires lit the courtyards. Music filled the air. Arya moved through the crowd, laughter and warmth wrapping around her like a long-forgotten dream. Children she didn't know ran up to touch her hands, whispering blessings. When she finally slipped away to breathe, Cale found her at the edge of the courtyard, looking up at the moon. It shone silver now, calm and full. "You should be dancing," he said. "I'm not sure I remember how." He offered his hand. "Then let me remind you." She hesitated only a moment before taking it. His touch was warm, steady, grounding. He guided her into the slow rhythm of the music, their steps light against the stone. "Do you ever think about what comes next?" she asked. "All the time," Cale said. "But for the first time, I don't dread it." "And what if peace doesn't last?" "Then we fight again," he said simply. "But next time, we fight as equals." Arya smiled. "You sound almost human." He leaned closer, his breath brushing her ear. "Don't ruin it." For a while, they said nothing more. The firelight painted the snow gold, and the pack's howls carried across the mountains. No longer mourning, but celebration. For the first time in memory, the blood moon shone without blood. Spring came late to the northern peaks, but it came nonetheless. The rivers ran clear again, and the trees budded with pale green. The fortress, once grim and cold, had changed. Laughter echoed through its halls. Songs replaced silence. Arya stood in the gardens one morning, sunlight warming her face. The earth smelled of pine and new life. Vera joined her, carrying a basket of herbs. "I never thought I'd live to see peace here," Vera said. Neither did I, Arya admitted. But sometimes peace sneaks up when you stop expecting it. Vera smiled faintly. You've done what none of us could. You've given this place hope. I didn't do it alone. No, Vera said. But you were the spark. Remember that. She turned to leave, but paused. He's waiting for you in the hall. Don't make him pace too long. The hall was bright with morning light when Arya entered. Cale stood near the great window, dressed in plain black. He looked up as she approached, his expression softening instantly. You're late, he said. I was talking to Vera. She's probably still trying to teach you politics. She says someone has to balance you. Cale chuckled. She's not wrong. Arya joined him at the window. Outside, the pack trained in the courtyard, organized, disciplined, but laughing between drills. You've rebuilt everything, she said. We rebuilt it, he corrected. I couldn't have done it without you. Don't give me too much credit, she said. You're still the alpha. And you're the heart of this pack, Cale said quietly. That matters more. He reached into his coat and drew out something small, her pendant, newly mended. The crack that had once split it was gone, replaced by a faint silver seam. I thought it was lost, she whispered. It wasn't, he said. I reforged it myself. It holds the bond's final light. She took it from him carefully. It's beautiful. So are you. The words hung between them, simple and honest. For once, Arya didn't look away. What happens now? Cale smiled. Now we live. The Blood Moon pack needs its Luna. She blinked. You're serious. As serious as I've ever been, he said. Stay here. Led beside me. She laughed softly, part wonder, part disbelief. You're asking, not commanding? He inclined his head. Old habits die hard. Arya looked at the pendant in her palm. The silver caught the light and flared softly. Two intertwined shapes, wolf and moon. When she looked up again, her answer was already in her eyes. Yes, she said. I'll stay. Cale's smile reached his eyes this time, and for a heartbeat the world seemed to pause. He stepped closer, lifting her hand to his lips. Then by moon and flame, he murmured, our vow begins anew. Outside, the pack's horn sounded, 3 long notes echoing across the mountains, not of warning, but of promise. The Blood Moon pack had a Luna. That evening, the fortress filled with light again. The ceremony was simple. No crowns, no thrones, only Cale and Arya standing beneath the open sky. The pack gathered below as Vera spoke the ancient words of union. 2 hearts bound by will, not fate. 2 lives shared by choice, not curse. Cale took Arya's hands. Once I ruled through fear, he said. Now I choose to rule through trust. Arya met his gaze. Once I lived in chains, she said. Now I choose to stay freely. Vera smiled. Then let the Blood Moon rise on a new vow. The crowd cheered, a sound like thunder rolling through the valley. Cale leaned close, his forehead resting against Arya's. The bond's quiet now, he whispered. Do you feel it? Yes, she said. It's not pulling anymore. It doesn't need to, he said. It's part of us. She smiled. Then let's see what peace feels like. Cale kissed her then, soft and certain, the kind of kiss that promised not forever, but enough. Around them, the pack howled in unison, their voices rising toward the moon that watched from above, no longer red but pure white. Later that night, when the celebration had faded and the fires burned low, Arya stood alone on the balcony. The mountains stretched before her, silver under the stars. Cale joined her silently, wrapping a cloak around her shoulders. What are you thinking? He asked. That peace is louder than I thought it would be, she said. And maybe that's okay. He followed her gaze. The world won't stay quiet forever. I know, she said. But when the next storm comes, we'll be ready. Cale took her hand. Together. They stood there until dawn, the first light spilling over the peaks, soft and gold. Below, the pack stirred, howls rising to greet the morning. The bond between Alpha and Luna thrummed once, warm and steady, not as a chain, but as a heartbeat shared. The curse was legend now. The war, memory. And the blood moon, once a symbol of fear, now shone as a promise of what they had built from fire and ruin. A kingdom reborn. A love freely chosen. A new beginning beneath a new moon. And that was bound to the blood moon Alpha. If you felt that fire, the tension, the heartbreak, the bond that defied fate, then don't vanish into the shadows just yet. Hit subscribe, tap the bell, and join our growing pack of dark romance lovers. Every week, a new story rises under the moon. More love, more danger, more obsession. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Tell me your favorite moment, or what you think should happen next. Until the next chapter, keep your heart wild and your soul unbound.